think it goes without saying that we are really grateful to be here today. We really just want to say that today's conversation shows that we as the movement were able to make a stride in coming to this level of the conversation that we had now with the different delegates that sat with us, and really just goes to show that from social media, from few posts, to make sure that this hashtag and this movement, gets the table or gets the attention that it deserves. And so with that, we really just want to say thank you. And really that was the efforts, that was what we wanted, to actually be heard and to have this stakeholder engagement on really the way forward beyond just social media and beyond just tweeting whatever comes later on. It really just speaks to also the sustainability of the movement, that it doesn't just die down where, when our fingers stop tweeting or reposting, but really that also this repost translates into actionable, ideas and implementations with the government together moving forward.
Okay, and now that you are saying that you are happy, will the protests still continue? Because I saw on social media that there are those planned for other towns.
Yes, definitely. They will continue, because we are not going to now restrict other towns and other movements that are also born from this specific movement. They are right also to protest, and it's also something that is still occurring. The scourge of SGBV is still there, femicide is still there. So we would encourage them to continue protesting, because it's something that must still continue to put pressure despite the conversations that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
What came out of your petition also was that you wanted the president to declare a state of emergency. Have you discussed that?
No, we've not discussed that.
The question is that there were some diverse views, some stating that some of the demands within your petition were misdirected. Now, I want to know, have you addressed that with the president and his ministers?
Right. In terms of the police and obviously regrettable altercations between the police and protesters, I think we've reached a consensus and we've established a very honest premise to say that there was no police clearance for the demonstrations that took place in Windhoek. And that is regrettable. And we've also established honestly that there were some actions from the police that were unfavorable, especially given that it was an SGBV protest. But speaking to that, I think we've reached an honest and collaborative consensus to say that now we can move forward in the understanding that the police is there to protect citizens, and in the understanding that we are not fighting one another, but that we're fighting a common enemy.
Mm-hmm. And just lastly, from my side, there is this perception that the GBV or SGBV is it concerns on mostly just women, but then there are also men who go through abuse at the hands of men. Have you also discussed that, and how going forward, how do you plan on getting women also to admit that the abuse is from both sides?
Yeah, definitely. We think the abuse is from both sides, but I think we also need to be honest in looking at the statistics and saying that most of it is from men. And that's not to erase that it's not to erase the experiences of men who experience gender-based violence. But then it's important to understand that gender-based violence speaks to the subject or the victim and not the gender of the perpetrator. And most times that gender happens to be women in Namibia. But gender-based violence, whether it's targeted towards a man or a woman, still threatens equality and it still threatens free and fair existence. And for as long as it persists in Namibia, we're going to continue talking about it with government, with each other, and with other relevant stakeholders.
You vehemently called for the resignation of the gender minister, Doreen Sioka. You're meeting now with her. Does that change your position?
Does it change our position? That's a very complicated question. But what we will say is that there's definitely been meaningful collaboration. There's been conversation. And something that was important that we've all considered is that there's definitely been an information gap. There's definitely been miscommunication. There's work that is being done by the Ministry of Gender that we were not aware of. There's also demands that we have that were obviously not met. So there's definitely a gap in terms of communication and consistent collaboration, but we are fixing it.
Going forward, will there be regular consultations?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Going forward, there'll definitely be consistent communication, and that obviously speaks to the issue of accountability. That's holding structures accountable and also holding ourselves as demonstrators accountable to making sure that the conversation that we've started or the efforts that we've aimed to accelerate are going to continue. So there'll be continuous conversation. We anticipate that there'll be the emergence of platforms to make sure that young people or whoever else wants to contribute to that effort has access to contribute to that effort. So the continuity in conversation is definitely there.
Thank you.